I, 35M, have an older brother Mike, 38M, who has always been the golden child of our family. Growing up, Mike was everything our parents wanted: athletic, outgoing, and successful at everything he tried. He was captain of the football team all through high school, maintained straight A's without seeming to study much, and had this natural charm that made everyone gravitate toward him. Our parents, especially our mom, practically worshipped the ground he walked on. I, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. I was the quiet, introverted kid who preferred spending time with computers and books rather than people. While Mike was out winning football games and going to parties, I was in my room learning to code or reading sci-fi novels. This difference between us became the foundation of our complicated relationship. Despite our differences, I actually looked up to Mike when we were younger. He wasn't always bad. When I was 12, some kids at school were bullying me, and Mike, who was 15 at the time, stood up for me and made them back off. He taught me how to ride a bike and would sometimes let me tag along with him and his friends when our parents made him. But as we got older, something changed in him. His competitive nature turned toxic, and he started seeing me as a threat rather than a brother. It started small at first. If I got an A on a test, he would make sure to point out that he got an A+ without studying. When I made the debate team, he reminded everyone at dinner about how he was debate team captain and football captain. Every achievement of mine had to be overshadowed by his somehow. Our mom encouraged this behavior, always comparing us and using Mike's accomplishments to push me to be more like your brother. The real problem started after college. Mike went into finance and quickly landed a prestigious job at a big firm. Meanwhile, I worked various IT jobs while developing my own software on the side. Mike would constantly make fun of my little computer hobby at family gatherings, telling everyone how I was wasting my potential in dead-end jobs while he was making six figures. But 5 years ago, everything changed. The software I had been developing in my spare time caught the attention of some investors. I managed to secure funding and started my own tech company. Mike initially laughed it off, telling our parents it was just another one of my little side projects that would fail like everything else I tried. But my company didn't fail. Instead, it grew rapidly, and within 2 years, we were making waves in the tech industry. That's when I met Lauren, 32F, who became one of my first employees. She was brilliant at operations and helped streamline our entire business process. We started dating about 6 months after she joined the company, and I made sure to keep everything professional at work. Mike's attitude toward me changed completely once my company became successful. His comments went from dismissive to outright hostile. He would try to undermine me at every family gathering, suggesting that I just got lucky or that someone else must be running the company for me because I wasn't cut out for leadership. When Lauren and I got engaged after a year of dating, Mike's behavior got even worse. From the moment they met, he was cold and dismissive towards her. He would make snide remarks about how she was only interested in my money or how she wasn't family material. He even suggested to our parents that she was probably after my company and would divorce me once she got enough shares. Our mom unfortunately enabled his behavior. She would agree with Mike's comments about Lauren, saying things like she's not really our kind of people or I always pictured you with someone more sophisticated. Only our dad stood up for us, telling Mike and mom repeatedly to back off and give Lauren a chance. We got married 2 years ago in a beautiful ceremony, though it was somewhat tainted by Mike's behavior. He got drunk at the reception and tried to give a speech that was so inappropriate that dad had to cut off his mic. Mom defended him, saying he was just emotional about his little brother getting married. Lauren and I managed to maintain a successful working relationship despite being married. She proved herself more than capable as our COO, leading several successful projects and helping to double our company's revenue. But Mike and mom continued to suggest that she only got the position because she was sleeping with the boss. Everything came to a head last month at our parents' 40th anniversary party. We were all gathered at their house, and Mike had been drinking heavily all evening. He started making increasingly inappropriate comments about Lauren in front of everyone. He implied that she must be sleeping with other executives or clients because that's how she got where she is. He even suggested that any success our company had was probably due to Lauren using her charms on clients rather than my leadership. Lauren was humiliated and left the party early in tears. I tried to confront Mike, but he just laughed and said he was just telling the truth and that someone needed to open my eyes. When dad tried to intervene, mom defended Mike again, saying he was just concerned about me and the company. The next day, Lauren revealed something that made my blood boil. Through tears, she told me that 2 months before our wedding, Mike had cornered her alone at a family barbecue. Everyone else was outside, but Lauren had gone to the bathroom. When she came out, Mike was waiting in the hallway. He tried to kiss her, pressing her against the wall, telling her he could show her what a real man was like. When she pushed him away and threatened to tell me, he grabbed her arm and warned her that if she ever told anyone, he would make sure our parents completely turned against me. He reminded her how much influence he had over mom and how he could easily convince them that Lauren was lying about everything. Lauren kept quiet about the incident because she didn't want to cause problems in my family. She knew how close I had been with my parents and didn't want to be the reason for a rift between us. She only decided to tell me now because Mike's behavior at the anniversary party brought back all those horrible memories. I was furious. I immediately called Mike and demanded an explanation. He denied everything, calling Lauren a liar and saying she was probably making it up because he had figured out her gold digger scheme. When I told our parents what happened, Mom automatically took Mike's side, saying Lauren must be making up stories for attention or to drive a wedge between her sons. Dad was more supportive but still suggested we all sit down and talk it through as a family. I refused to sweep this under the rug this time. I told Mike and my parents that until he admits what he did and sincerely apologizes to Lauren, I want nothing to do with him. Mom called me ungrateful and said I was tearing the family apart over silly accusations from a woman who was never really part of the family anyway. I blocked Mike's number and told Mom I needed space from her too until she could see the truth about her precious golden child. Update 1: The situation has gotten significantly worse since my last post. After I blocked Mike's number, he started a targeted campaign to destroy both our personal and professional reputation. Within days of our confrontation, my phone was flooded with calls from concerned relatives and family friends. Mike had apparently been busy spreading vicious rumors about Lauren throughout our extended family and social circle. He told our aunts, uncles, and cousins that Lauren was having multiple affairs with our company's top clients. According to him, he had solid evidence that she had been meeting these clients in hotels during business trips. He even went as far as to create a fake email account to send anonymous tips to some of our business partners, suggesting that our company's rapid growth was due to Lauren trading sexual favors for contracts. The impact was immediate and devastating. Lauren started receiving awkward emails from clients wanting to verify some concerning information. 2 major clients even put their contracts on hold pending internal review. Our company's reputation, which we had built painstakingly over the years, was suddenly under scrutiny. The worst part was how our relatives reacted. Instead of questioning Mike's motives or the timing of these allegations, many of them chose to believe him. Our cousin Rachel, who had been close to Lauren, called me saying she was worried about my marriage and suggested I should keep a closer eye on Lauren during business meetings. My Aunt Susan, who had always been reasonable, sent Lauren a long message about how disappointed she was and how she expected better moral character from someone in a leadership position. Lauren was devastated. She had spent years proving herself in a male-dominated industry, fighting against exactly these kinds of stereotypes. Now, because of Mike's vindictive lies, she was being reduced to exactly what he had always accused her of being, someone who slept her way to the top. She stopped attending client meetings in person and started working from home to avoid the whispers and stares at the office. I knew I needed concrete evidence to fight back against Mike's lies. I hired James, 45M, a private investigator recommended by our company's legal team. I asked him to look into Mike's past behavior patterns and any potential skeletons in his closet. What James uncovered was far worse than I had imagined. It turned out that Mike's successful career in finance was built on a foundation of lies and misconduct. His previous job at the prestigious firm hadn't ended with him leaving for a better opportunity as he had claimed. He had been quietly forced to resign after multiple female employees filed sexual harassment complaints against him. The firm had kept it quiet to avoid scandal, and Mike had signed an NDA as part of his severance package. James found 5 different women who had filed complaints against Mike over the past 3 years at his former workplace. The pattern was always the same: he would start by making inappropriate comments, then progress to unwanted touching, and finally attempt to kiss or grope them when they were alone. When rejected, he would use his position of power to make their work lives miserable or spread rumors about their unprofessional behavior. But the most shocking discovery was about our parents' finances. As the financially savvy son, Mike had convinced our parents to let him manage their retirement fund 3 years ago. James discovered that Mike had been systematically embezzling money from this fund, transferring small amounts to various personal accounts over time. In total, he had stolen nearly $100,000 from our parents' retirement savings. When I showed the evidence to Dad, including bank statements and transfer records, he was completely shattered. He had always defended Mike, even when Mom's support seemed blind, but this betrayal broke something in him. He aged 10 years in that moment, sitting in his study looking at the proof of his golden child's crimes. Mom's reaction was entirely different. When Dad tried to show her the documents, she refused to even look at them. She accused me of fabricating evidence to frame Mike because I was jealous of his success and couldn't handle him telling the truth about Lauren. She even suggested that Lauren had probably helped me create the fake documents since she was good with computers. Armed with all this evidence, I confronted Mike at his apartment. I expected him to deny everything again, to call me a liar and threaten legal action. Instead, something unexpected happened. After I laid out all the evidence, the harassment complaints, the embezzlement records, everything, he broke down completely. Through tears, he admitted everything. He confessed to harassing those women at work, to stealing from our parents, and yes, to what he had done to Lauren. But then, in true Mike fashion, he tried to twist it around and blame me. He said my success had driven him to it because he couldn't handle being seen as the failure of the family. He claimed that watching my little tech project grow into a successful company while his career stagnated had destroyed his self-worth. He talked about how hard it had been growing up as the golden child, how Mom and Dad's expectations had crushed him, and how he had always had to be perfect. When I succeeded despite being the disappointment, he couldn't handle it. He admitted that he had tried to kiss Lauren because he wanted to prove he could take something important from me, just like I had taken his position as the successful son. I left his apartment feeling a mix of disgust, pity, and anger. His confession confirmed everything, but his attempt to blame me for his actions showed that he still wasn't really taking responsibility. He was still the same Mike, just now with his mask finally off. Update 2: After my confrontation with Mike, everything seemed to spiral into chaos. Dad finally convinced Mom to look at the evidence about Mike's embezzlement by involving their financial advisor, Thomas, 55M, who had worked with our family for over 2 decades. When Thomas confirmed the missing money and showed Mom the systematic way Mike had been stealing from their accounts, she couldn't deny it anymore. Mom's reaction was intense. She had spent years building this perfect image of Mike in her head, defending him against every accusation, and rationalizing all his bad behavior. When that image shattered, she couldn't cope. She had a complete breakdown and had to be hospitalized for 3 days. The doctors said it was a combination of severe anxiety and emotional trauma. While Mom was in the hospital, Mike disappeared. We discovered he had emptied his personal bank accounts and maxed out several credit cards. He also took some valuable items from our parents' house, including Mom's expensive jewelry collection and Dad's rare coin collection, which had been in our family for generations. We later found out he had fled to Mexico. The only communication we received was a group email he sent to the entire family, including extended relatives. In the email, he tried to paint himself as the victim. He claimed he had a drinking problem that nobody had noticed because everyone expected him to be perfect. He blamed his behavior on childhood trauma from always having to maintain the image of the golden child. He even suggested that Mom and Dad's obvious favoritism toward me in recent years had pushed him over the edge. The email was full of manipulative language and attempts to garner sympathy, but the most insulting part was how he minimized his actions. He referred to the sexual harassment as misunderstandings, the embezzlement as borrowing with intent to repay, and what he did to Lauren as a momentary lapse in judgment. He ended the email by saying he was getting help and would return when everyone was ready to forgive and move forward as a family. The response to his email was mixed. Some relatives, particularly the older generation who remembered him as the charming golden boy, expressed sympathy and suggested we should help him get treatment. Others, especially those who had witnessed his behavior firsthand, were disgusted by his attempts to deflect blame. But the most shocking development came from our cousin Emma, 36F. After reading Mike's email, she finally broke her silence about something that had happened years ago. Emma called me privately and shared a horrifying story that shed new light on Mike's pattern of behavior. 6 years ago, at our other cousin's wedding, Mike had cornered Emma in an empty hallway, just like he did with Lauren. He had tried to kiss her, and when she rejected him, he became aggressive. Emma managed to push him away and escape, but the aftermath was devastating. Mike started spreading rumors in the family that Emma was promiscuous and had been the one who came onto him. He painted such a convincing picture that her then fiancé, who had been at the wedding, began to doubt her. The rumors and doubt eventually led to their engagement being called off. Emma had kept this secret for years, ashamed and afraid that no one would believe her over Mike. She had watched from the sidelines as Mike continued his behavior, targeting other women, including Lauren. She blamed herself for not speaking up sooner, thinking maybe she could have prevented what happened to Lauren if she had exposed Mike years ago. The revelations kept coming. After Emma shared her story, 2 of Mike's former co-workers reached out to me through LinkedIn. They shared similar stories of harassment and manipulation, but their complaints had been buried by HR to protect the company's reputation. Mike had apparently received multiple warnings before the final incident that led to his forced resignation. Meanwhile, Dad started the process of legal action to recover the stolen money and items. His lawyer discovered that Mike had been running up debt for years, taking loans from questionable sources. Dad was devastated to learn that his financially savvy son had been living far beyond his means, creating a web of lies and debt that would take years to untangle. Mom returned home from the hospital a changed woman. The confident, somewhat domineering mother I knew was replaced by someone more subdued and uncertain. She spent hours going through old photo albums, as if trying to pinpoint the moment her perfect son had turned into this person she no longer recognized. She stopped defending Mike, but she also stopped talking about him entirely, as if erasing him from her memory was easier than facing the truth. Update 3: After 3 months of hiding in Mexico, Mike finally returned when he ran out of money and options. His return wasn't the triumphant homecoming he probably imagined. The police were waiting at the airport due to Dad pressing charges for the theft of Mom's jewelry and his coin collection. However, Mom intervened at the last moment and convinced Dad to drop the charges, saying she couldn't bear to see her son in jail. Mike moved back in with our parents, claiming he's a changed man. He started attending AA meetings and found a job at a small local firm, though it's nothing like his previous high-powered position. Mom seems to have done a complete 180 degrees and is back to enabling his behavior. She's convinced that his recovery is genuine this time and keeps pushing for a family reconciliation. The stolen items mysteriously reappeared in our parents' house one morning. Mike claimed he had kept them safe while sorting himself out. We later found out he had actually pawned them in Mexico but bought similar replacements when he realized Dad was serious about pressing charges. Mom chose to believe his version of events, though Dad knew better. My parents' dynamic has shifted significantly. Dad has become more distant from Mom, especially when she starts talking about family reunions and second chances. He told me privately that while he still loves Mom, he can't forget how she enabled Mike's behavior for years and continues to do so. They're in counseling now, trying to work through their issues. Lauren and I made a major decision during this time. We moved our company headquarters to another state, partly to expand the business but mainly to get away from the family drama. The distance has been good for us. Lauren is expecting our first child, and the stress of dealing with my family was affecting her health. We've made it clear to everyone that Mike will never be a part of our child's life. Mom didn't take this news well. She's been calling everyone in the family, telling them I'm being cruel by denying my brother the joy of being an uncle. She even showed up at our new house unannounced once, with Mike in tow, talking about surprise family reconciliation. We didn't let them in, and I had to threaten legal action to get them to leave. Dad calls regularly and respects our decision, though I can hear the pain in his voice. He visits us alone sometimes, careful not to share our address with Mom or Mike. He's excited about becoming a grandfather and understands why we need this boundary. The extended family is divided. Some relatives, like Emma and those who knew Mike's true nature, support our decision to keep our distance. Others, particularly those who only see his reformed version, think I'm being too harsh and that family should stick together no matter what. Mike sends monthly emails about his journey to becoming a better person and how much he misses his little brother. Each email is perfectly crafted to make him sound remorseful while subtly suggesting that I'm the one being unreasonable by not forgiving him. I've blocked his email now too. I sometimes wonder if I'm being too rigid, but then I remember Lauren's tears, Emma's story, and all the other women he hurt. I think about the money he stole from our parents and how he tried to destroy my marriage and business. Some things can't be fixed with apologies and promises to change. Mom still thinks time will heal everything, but I've accepted that some bridges should stay burned. My focus now is on my wife, our upcoming baby, and our future in our new home, far from the toxic family dynamics we left behind.